All right, so you sent over that audio source, default.mp3ywr AO3W3 AJK 1V 1B 1V 407 Sequoia FEMC 56 FB 433789420.mp3. And
Yeah,
it's a true crime story, but it's also kind of hopeful in a way.
it is. It's a story about family and, loss, but also the lengths that we go to for the people that we love.
Yeah, for sure. At the heart of it all is Rosemary Westbrook and
Right.
the disappearance of her sister Barbara Hackman,
Uh-huh.
but everyone called her Bobby.
Bobby.
So think about this. We've got traveling carnivals,
Okay.
whispers of a vanishing act gone wrong, and a search that goes on for decades and decades.
Wow.
And here's the twist.
Okay.
A man with a very specific passion becomes really important to this story.
I love those kinds of details.
Me too.
Yeah.
Are you ready to unpack it all?
Absolutely. I'm fascinated by the contrast in Rosemary's story.
Yeah.
She remembers a loving childhood,
Right.
but also challenging.
Uh-huh.
And then you have this mystery of Bobby's fate.
It's
It
true.
just pulls you in.
Rosemary's family was large. She was one of 9 kids.
9.
Yeah. But there were also a lot of tragedies when they were young.
Oh, wow.
Multiple family members died.
Oh, no.
And because of all that, Rosemary ended up being raised by her aunt and uncle,
I see.
who lived about 40 miles away.
That separation from her siblings must have been so hard, especially at such a young age.
It really was. Rosemary talks about how much she loved her aunt and uncle,
Right.
but being away from her brothers and sisters was so difficult.
Yeah.
And that distance makes her bond with Bobby even more special.
Oh, I bet.
Even though they lived apart, they were incredibly close.
The source material really brings their relationship to light.
Doesn't it? It's so vivid. They spent weekends together dancing on the porch,
Well, sweet.
just enjoying each other's company. They were just carefree young girls full of life.
And that's what makes Bobby's disappearance even more jarring.
Exactly. And then you have Earl Taylor, Bobby's husband.
Okay.
He worked on the traveling carnival circuit. And there's some things about him that are just, well, concerning. Yeah, it's not stated directly,
Okay.
but Earl was really evasive when it came to talking about the mothers of his children.
Interesting.
Bobby vanished.
No.
The mother of his first daughter vanished,
Hmm.
and both times he just said that they left him.
That's suspicious.
Definitely raises some red flags.
Yeah, for sure.
And the family felt that way right away. They knew something wasn't right.
Yeah.
Communication with Bobby became less and less frequent
Oh, no.
until finally it just stopped completely.
Wow.
Rosemary was only 10 years old when Bobby vanished.
Oh, gosh.
And when she talks about it, it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
She remembers holding on to hope, thinking maybe Bobby just lost her memory or something.
It's a child's way of trying to understand something so awful.
Yeah, absolutely. But the family truly believed that Earl wasn't telling the truth.
Right?
They suspected foul play. They even went to Kentucky, where Bobby was last seen,
Wow.
but they hit a dead end.
You have to remember, this was before the internet,
Right.
before we had these huge databases and easy communication across state lines.
Exactly.
Imagine trying to track someone down in the world of traveling carnivals,
I know.
especially across different states and jurisdictions.
Yeah.
It must have been incredibly difficult.
It really shows how much technology has changed investigations.
Oh, for sure.
But Rosemary never gave up hope.
Good for her.
As she got older and became a mother herself, she wanted answers even more. And this is where things take a turn.
Okay.
Rosemary decides to use this new thing called the internet to start searching again.
It was a long shot, but it shows you how resourceful she was.
It does.
And her belief that someone somewhere might have a piece of the puzzle.
She creates an online ad
Okay.
with all the details she has about Bobby, hoping to reach anyone who might have known her.
Mhm.
And after 3 years, an email arrived that changed everything.
I bet.
It's almost unbelievable. A man named Todd Matthews reached out to her, saying he might know who Bobby is,
Wow.
or more specifically, where she is.
But to understand how Todd comes into the picture, we need to go back in time,
Okay.
over a decade. Back to 1987, long before Rosemary posted that ad.
All right, let's rewind.
Todd was a teenager, and he was captivated by a chilling story.
Oh,
He heard it from his high school classmate, Lori.
okay.
And it wasn't just any story. Lori's father had made a gruesome discovery.
Oh, no.
A body wrapped in a tarp hidden near a campsite in Kentucky.
Chillin'.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Authorities couldn't identify the woman,
Oh, God.
and because she was found wrapped in that tarp,
Yeah.
they called her Tent Girl.
Ted girl.
The case really got to Todd,
Mhm.
especially the fact that she was buried without a name
Right.
No family to mourn her, no story to tell.
It's that lack of identity, isn't it? The anonymity that really resonated with Todd.
Mm-hmm.
He felt this powerful responsibility to give Tent Girl back her name,
Yeah.
to restore her dignity.
I can understand.
He even visited her grave regularly,
Wow.
determined to keep her memory alive.
That's amazing.
He went through missing persons databases trying to find a match, but nothing ever turned up. Now, fast forward to years later, when Todd sees Rosemary's online ad.
The timing of it all is almost eerie.
It is, right around the same time that Todd learns about Tent Girl.
Yeah.
Earl Taylor dies from cancer.
Oh, wow.
Talk about fate intervening.
Yeah.
Based on Rosemary's description of Bobby's last known location
Okay.
and the time frame of her disappearance, Todd starts to connect the dots. Could Tent Girl actually be Barbara Hackman?
It's a bold theory, but it starts to make sense.
It does.
In a strange way.
Yeah, it's almost too much of a coincidence, right?
Right.
So they start comparing everything. Dates, photographs, every little detail they can find. And the more information they share, the stronger their belief gets. They feel like they're on the verge of something huge.
But it's still just a theory at this point, right?
Right.
They need solid evidence.
Yeah. They do. And that's why Todd urges Rosemary to file a missing person report with the Lexington Police Department. He's hoping this will kick off an official investigation and maybe even get them access to Tent Girl's remains.
For DNA testing.
Exactly.
It was a crucial step.
It was.
But Rosemary's experience with the Lexington police,
Yeah.
well, it wasn't unusual for families in these situations.
Especially back then.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. The officer she spoke with was so skeptical.
Oh, no.
Even hostile.
Really?
Yeah. He questioned her memories and suggested that maybe Bobby just chose to leave and didn't want to be found.
It's like he was telling her that her feelings in her search didn't matter.
It's awful. To make things worse, Rosemary brought up the Tent Girl case, and the officer had no idea what she was talking about. He didn't know anything about it or any potential connection.
It shows you how siloed information could be back then, right? Before the internet and widespread databases. Imagine trying to coordinate investigations across different jurisdictions.
Oh, I know.
Especially for cases that spanned multiple states.
It must have been so difficult.
It was. But thankfully, Rosemary is persistent.
She is. She doesn't give up.
Right.
She contacts her sister-in-law, who has connections with the local sheriff in Scott County, Kentucky.
Right.
And this time, it pays off.
Good.
The sheriff is much more receptive to Rosemary's story and the possible connection to Tent Girl. He understood how important those details were and immediately took action.
That's what you want to see.
I know, right?
Yeah.
He reaches out to the medical examiner, Emily Craig,
Okay.
and shares all of Rosemary's information, including photos of Bobby. And get this. Emily notices a striking resemblance between Bobby and the facial reconstruction they'd done of Tent Girl.
Wow.
It wasn't definitive proof,
Right.
but that visual confirmation just added so much credibility to their theory.
It did. And it fueled their determination to get that DNA testing.
Absolutely. But there's a big hurdle.
What's that?
They need to exhume Tent Girl's body to get a viable DNA sample.
Yeah.
That's not an easy process, logistically or emotionally.
It's a really tough decision.
Rosemary really wrestled with the idea of disturbing Tent Girl's resting place.
It's understandable. She didn't want to disrupt what she saw as a sacred space.
Of course. But her husband pointed out something really important.
What was that?
DNA testing could provide answers, not just for Rosemary, but potentially for other families with missing loved ones, too.
That's a good point.
It's like a ripple effect.
It is.
So the exhumation takes place, and they send the samples for DNA analysis.
This was the late 90s, right?
It was.
So DNA technology was still fairly new.
It was. The waiting process was just agonizing.
I bet.
During that time, Rosemary actually developed a really close relationship with Emily.
The medical examiner.
Yeah. They spoke on the phone a lot, sharing updates and just anxieties.
I can imagine.
They formed a bond over this shared hope and their pursuit of the truth.
That's beautiful.
And then finally the call comes.
Oh, wow.
But Emily had some surprising news.
Okay.
She couldn't reveal the results over the phone.
Oh, really?
Rosemary had to come to Kentucky in person.
Wow. Could you imagine that emotional roller coaster?
I know. It's like after years of searching, the answer was so close.
Yeah.
But she had to endure even more waiting.
It seems almost cruel, doesn't it?
It does, but Emily felt strongly that such a momentous revelation deserved a face-to-face conversation.
It shows how much she cared.
It does. So Rosemary and her family travel to Kentucky. And as they arrive, they see news crews gathering.
Wow.
Word had gotten out about the story. It must have been so overwhelming for Rosemary.
I bet.
To have her personal search suddenly in the public eye.
It's a reminder that a private story can become public so quickly.
It can, especially when it's connected to a long-standing mystery.
Like the Tent Girl case.
Exactly. Before facing the media, Emily takes Rosemary aside into a quiet room and delivers the news.
The DNA results confirmed it.
They did. Tent Girl is Barbara Bobby Hackman.
It must have been such a bittersweet moment.
It was relief validation, but also the profound sadness of confirming their suspicions.
It's a lot to process.
After years of searching, Rosemary finally had her answer.
Right.
But it came at a cost.
It did. Closure and grief, justice and anger.
All mixed together.
And at the center of it all was Todd.
Right.
The man whose dedication made it all possible.
Imagine that moment. They embraced.
Wow.
Two strangers brought together by this tragedy.
Yeah.
Their lives forever intertwined by this shared pursuit of the truth.
It's incredible.
They had given a name back to a nameless victim, a voice to the silenced.
It's a victory for hope.
It is a testament to the power of human connection.
But even with this incredible victory, there's a crucial question that remains unanswered.
That's true.
Who is responsible for Bobby's death?
It's the question that just hangs over everything, doesn't it?
It does.
The source material doesn't give us any definite answers.
Right.
But it really seems like
Rory's husband.
was involved. Remember all those red flags we talked about?
Yeah.
How evasive he was about the mothers of his children? The hints of domestic violence?
Yeah. It's not a good sign.
It points to something really dark.
It does. And by this point, Earl had passed away.
Right.
Which makes it even harder to figure out what really happened to Bobby.
It does. We're left with just speculation. And the unsettling thought that some secrets just die with people.
That's true. It's a frustrating reality in a lot of cold cases.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially ones that happen before modern forensics and investigative tools.
Right.
But even without all the answers, Rosemary's search did have some unexpected and good outcomes.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Before Earl died, he gave his daughter Michelle a tiny bit of information about Bobby's family.
Really?
He told her to go to a specific city and look in a phone book.
Wow. Just a city and a last name?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is, right? But Michelle was able to track down Bobby's mother.
Wow. So she found the side of the family she never knew.
She did. It led to a reunion.
Oh, wow.
And it brought a sense of healing.
Yeah.
For both Rosemary and Michelle, they found solace in the shared memory of Bobby.
It just shows you how strong those family ties can be.
It does. Even across time and distance.
Right. And speaking of unexpected connections, let's go back to Todd Matthews for a second.
Okay.
His work with John and Jane does.
Yeah.
It didn't end with Bobby's case.
It didn't. He went on to co-found the Doe Network.
Oh, wow.
It's an organization run by volunteers that helps connect missing persons cases with unidentified remains.
Amazing work.
It is driven by compassion and that belief that everyone deserves a name.
Everyone deserves a story.
A family to mourn them.
And you know what? Todd's high school classmate?
Lori.
Yeah. The one whose father found Tent Girl.
Yeah.
They ended up getting married.
It's a crazy twist of fate.
It is. It shows that even in the middle of tragedy, love and hope can still exist.
It makes you think about the impact we all have on the world.
It does. Whether we realize it or not.
Right. And in this case, that impact went way beyond Rosemary and Bobby and Todd.
Rosemary's persistence and Todd's commitment to the Doe Network. They've probably inspired so many others to not give up hope.
Yeah, their stories show the power of collaboration.
Between law enforcement and forensic science.
Compassionate individuals.
And they highlight how important organizations like the Doe Network are.
For sure. They give resources and support to families
who are dealing with these incredibly complex missing persons cases.
This whole deep dive has been a lot, hasn't it?
It has. We've gone through so much
blood and loss,
frustration,
dead end,
but also the resilience of people.
The triumph of never giving up.
It makes you feel hopeful.
It does. It makes you think that even when things seem impossible, justice and closure can happen.
They can. So as we wrap things up here, what are your thoughts?
What stands out to you the most?
I think for me, it's that reminder to never underestimate the power of one person's dedication.
That's a good one. What made Todd spend all that time researching Tent Girl?
Right. Visiting her grave and then ultimately connecting her with Rosemary.
Exactly. It's amazing what makes someone do that.
What drives people to take on these huge tasks
Right.
and become voices for those who can't speak for themselves?
It's a powerful question.
It is. Is it justice?
A belief in the worth of every human life.
Maybe a deep empathy for those who are hurting?
Whatever it is, their commitment is inspiring.
As we finish up this exploration, think about all those other John and Jane Does out there, still waiting to be identified, their stories waiting to be told.
What can we do individually and together
to make sure no one is forgotten?
That everyone's story is heard.
Exactly.
We hope this deep dive made you curious.
It left you with a feeling of awe.
About the power of people.
The strength of love.
And the never-ending search for truth.
Thanks for being with us on this journey.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Keep learning.
And keep thinking critically about the world.
See you next time.